biggest things I focus on is helping people to get back to a place of hope. Hope.
The morning show worth talking about. Faith at Work with Yvette Gavin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Faith at Work. I'm your host, Yvette Gavin. This show is all about answering your questions about career, family, and faith, which I like to call Ask Yvette. As a reminder, you can watch all of our episodes on demand at ptwwntv.com and at faithatwork.tv. What's even better, once you're there, you can support this show by clicking on the donation button. When you give to Faith at Work with Yvette Gavin, you are partnering with us in our efforts to help women of faith to increase their kingdom influence in the marketplace. You can give right now by clicking on the donation button located on our website at faithatwork.tv or on our on-demand at ptwwntv.com. The donate button is located under each on-demand broadcast. Your donations are tax deductible. To our sponsors and each of you who are giving monthly to help keep this TV ministry alive and thriving, I am grateful for your generosity, and I send you a heartfelt thank you. We have some great questions today, and I will be answering them right after this short break. We'll be right back.
The perfect way to start your day. Family, traffic, meetings, family. All can be stressors in our everyday lives, but spending a few minutes with God can prepare you to take on the world. The Faith at Work devotional is a perfect vehicle to do just that by helping you center on what's most important, your relationship with God. And now, for your donation of any amount, you'll receive a copy of the Faith at Work devotional. Just visit our website at www.faithatwork.tv.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yvette Gavin, host of Faith at Work, a television show focused on helping women of faith to increase their kingdom influence in the marketplace. Tune in Mondays at 5:30 a.m. I'm answering your questions now on faith, family, and on your career. We got so many questions. I want to get right into it. This very first one reads, my bonus payout is today, but my current employer withheld my bonus because I gave him a 2 weeks notice earlier this week. Should I go ahead and quit today? Well, very interesting question. Because I know this individual who actually submitted this one, I actually reached out to have a conversation, because sometimes you get questions and you can't just answer them with a little bit of information. So I really needed to understand a little bit more what was going on. But I also want to bring this question here to you because I think there's a strong message here for all of us. And one of those things is just this. You want to be very mindful and with purpose when you do give your 2 weeks notice. So for instance, in this person's case, they gave a notice, and then the same week that they gave a 2 weeks notice, their bonus payout came forth, right? So technically, in most companies, the policy, and the word policy is key here, the company policy is that you must be an employee on the day that the bonus check actually is given, it pays out. So she met that requirement. So I suggest to her that she actually go and ask for her bonus. First, ask the question, why did I not get it? Because you want them to tell you versus making assumptions. And then if the answer is, which is in this case was the answer she was given, that, well, you're quitting, you're leaving, so why are we going to pay you a bonus? I had an opportunity to coach her. So I was able to walk her through that process of actually letting her employer, in this case she was speaking directly with her manager, help him to understand legally she had a right to that actual pay, because it was based on performance that was done in 2020 and not 2021. That's number one. And then secondly, there was an HR policy that was written that clearly stated that in order to receive a performance bonus from the previous year, you only had to be an employee the day that the check was given. she met those requirements. So by being bold enough to go and ask and having some information so she was informed, they made a second decision to do the right thing, and they actually paid her out her bonus. But I want to also touch on another part of this question, because the real question was this: should I go ahead and quit today? That's a moral question, because we don't have to give an employer a notice at all. But it is professionally, and it is expected of professionals to give an employer a 2 weeks notice. The 2 weeks will at least give them an opportunity to start the process of replacing you or backfilling your position, or start that process for the leaders to have a conversation around what they want to do with that particular role. It also allows you to be able to transition information to another resource, so the company doesn't have to necessarily skip a beat because you've made a decision to move on. When I say it's a moral decision, because legally you could leave, you don't have to give a notice at all. In her case, legally, she could have just went ahead and left. But morally, would that have been right? And that's why I want you, woman of faith, to consider that no matter what you do, no matter where you are, whether it's work, home, or in your community, you're always showing who you are by the decisions and the choices that you make. And in this case, I personally feel as if it would have been a negative message, not only to the employer, but also to the coworkers, if she had chosen to just leave that day because her paycheck, or the bonus check, if you will, was withheld from her. By having the conversation, I'm going to summarize this, by having the right conversation, being bold enough to ask the questions and then ask for her bonus check, they had a second thought and they gave her that bonus check. Last word on this one: you always want to be careful how you leave a company. None of us know. None of us know. I know sometimes we can be so disappointed with some things that happen on a job that we're like, I'm never going back, but you never know. I mean, I've had the opportunity to go back to 3 companies where I was once a full-time employee, gave notice, left, and was able to go back. And that's what I would want for you. I would want you to always be of character, where if you needed to go back or chose to go back to a company, the record that's there on you, they will open their arms and welcome you back and see it as a gift that you chose to come back. Okay, question number 2. It reads, you always seem to have it together. Okay, thank you. And I'm wondering, what advice do you have for managing the stress of working from home and having to make sure your child is in virtual school? Okay, that's a very relevant question, I would say, because a lot of parents are finding themselves in this situation. If you're following any of the data around the whole corona piece, you know that a lot of women have already been affected, right, in an adverse way, where it comes to having to work from home and also be there, not to just raise their kids, but also now to educate them as well and make sure that they're keeping up with their schoolwork. And it's been a challenge. It has definitely been a challenge for a lot of people. And some moms have had to make decisions about whether to maintain employment. Here's what I will say. First of all, thank you for the compliment. But the truth is, nobody always have it together, not even me. But what I do in an effort to try to maintain what I refer to as sanity around having to work virtually, and even when I was going out, to a public environment to work, is just having a schedule. I mean, I know that seems simple, but a schedule works. I mean, because it helps you to organize and put things in their proper bucket. Now, what I'm sharing with some of my one-on-one coaching clients who are in the same situation is that I am recommending that they segment things off in their homes. So like you have a particular place where you're doing your office work and where your kids are doing their school work. And you want to make sure that that is known, that when we're here at this particular place, it's about school and it's in that time frame. And the same thing for you when it comes to work. I believe that it is even more important, as we're more on our computers doing our office work like never before, that you actually schedule breaks for yourself. And I believe more breaks are necessary. And as a working mom, you need those breaks to even check in on your child who's also there perhaps, on another computer doing schooling. So that's one way, just one little tip is to try to create a schedule and make sure that schedule is including, breaks throughout today. And here's why I think the breaks are important. And one of my coaching clients I recommended this to, it is working for her. And because when we're in our normal office settings, I don't think we realize how many breaks we may have been taking, right? If it was nothing more than a break to get up and go get a cup of coffee, and typically that coffee would be away from where, our desk, may have been, or someone passing by and they stop to say hello and you pull away from the computer to have a little short conversation with others, or you're actually physically getting up from your desk to go into a conference room to have a meeting. Those were ways that we were putting little breaks and movement in our day. And now that we're all working from home and we're using our devices in order to do that, we're finding ourselves being very stationed or solitary. So I think adding those breaks where you can also move, but also check in on your child and set up a form of discipline where there are set times of the day and set places in the house. The key thing here is those places. I think you would find that can help you get a little bit more organized to try to manage that whole thing of working. Last tip I will share is that I want women to be mindful of the fact that because you're working from home, and because you really do have a lot more with schooling on you, I get that, be mindful of taking care of yourself. I'm doing what you're doing. I'm also doing work virtually, but I'm watching women come on and, just not caring for themselves physically as they would if they were going into an office. And what I mean by that, you still, girl, need to get up and comb your hair. I'm just telling you, I'm just keep it real. I've seen this on some of my virtual meetings. You still need to take care of your face. You still need to wash your face. I get it if you don't want to do the whole makeup thing because you're working from home, but come on. Let's definitely make the effort to wash our faces. Again, it's all about self-care. And I think that will help you, and doing those little things too will help you feel like you're keeping yourself together as well. Okay, guys, that was just two of the many questions. I know I won't get to them all today, but I want you to keep sending in your questions, so don't forget to do that. And I have more, though, today before we leave. We're going to go into a short break, and I'm going to come back and perhaps answer one or two more questions for you. Executive presence has nothing to do with skill and talent. Executive presence is a measure of image.
COVID-19 has changed the way leaders engage teams, and it has caused teammates to shift how they communicate. Effective communication is more important today than ever to a team's growth and overall success. The John Maxwell Leadership Game, implemented by Yvette Gavin Consulting, can help you lead your team into more effective leadership and communication practices. Schedule your workshop today. Call us at 424-262-2462 or email us at yvette@yvettegavin.com. So, what are people really saying about Yvette Gavin Consulting?
Yvette has been outstanding. It's great to have you. I've enjoyed, the quality of your work. I can tell you serve your clients well.
Training, coaching, leadership program development, keynote speaker.
I decided to no longer look at those little disappointing situations or the setbacks as setbacks, but I began to realize that everything, good and bad, positive and negative, had a message for me.
To find out more about Yvette Gavin Consulting or to book Yvette for your next event, please call us at 424-262-2462. You can email us at yvette@yvettegavin.com, and you can also visit our website at yvettegavin.com.
If I wanted to help my colleagues, I'd call up Yvette Gavin.
Okay, we're back, and I'm on question number 3. This question is, how do you let your coworker know that you are uncomfortable with a lot of cursing and horseplay in the office without appearing to be weak? That's an interesting question, because even here in what we're sitting in 2021, this is still a concern for someone of a coworker or coworkers really playing around in the office, maybe perhaps a little too much. She used the word horseplay, and they're cursing, so they're using language that this person is not comfortable with. My advice is, first of all, be true to yourself. If you're uncomfortable with that type of behavior and language, then you need to let other people know. One of the mistakes I've seen, especially women, make in the workplace is that they are put on a facade that they're okay with something. And oftentimes those that are around them are unaware that they were uncomfortable in a particular event or circumstances or conversation. So number one, my advice is to be true to yourself by letting others know that you are not comfortable with a particular type of behavior. And there are multiple ways you can do that. One way to do that is not to smile and lean in when someone is using a language that you're uncomfortable with. Use your body language to let a person know that you are not comfortable with whatever was just said. You know how it is. Many of us, especially us, from the South, my mom didn't have to say one word. She could look at us, the kids, and get us in line with just that one look. I've learned to do that in corporate. When people are crossing the line, they haven't crossed it, but they're getting close to crossing that line of what is comfortable for me from a personal behavior perspective, I just give them that look. There's no smile. I don't pretend as if I'm okay with it. I don't pretend that I am comfortable with something that I am not comfortable with. So that's the answer. Be very clear when you're not comfortable. And being clear is not always having to speak the word and saying it to someone. But number 2, sometimes saying it is necessary. Sometimes it is letting a person know, I am not comfortable with that behavior, or I am not comfortable with that language in my presence. And it's not a sign of weakness. Actually, it takes a lot of strength. And as a bold person can speak up and take care of certain situations like that. So I don't see it as a sign of weaknesses at all. I don't even think your coworkers, I don't even think your coworkers would see it that way either. What you're doing is teaching them how to treat you. And what you will notice that even if that person has a tendency to curse or play around a lot at work, once they realize that that is not what you like and you've been very clear about it, typically that person will stop that behavior in front of you. And that's what you really want, right? You want that person to be able to respect the fact that you are a Christian, that you're not comfortable in that environment, and you're totally fine. I will share this personal story. I actually applied for a job once years ago, and I didn't get the job. And I was disappointed that I didn't get the job. A couple months later, that employer called me and asked me to come back and interview for the same position. So I was confused, so I asked why. And what they told me just really changed my whole approach about how I show up in the workplace. I'm more comfortable. I became more comfortable really being genuinely me. And the feedback was I had also taken an assessment during that interview. And that assessment consisted of a writing exam where I had to write a news story, for them as I was doing the interviewing process. But I also had to do a personality assessment, and then they gave me some situations. And I was honest with the answers. And one of them was actually about how would I respond if I overheard a coworker saying some very derogatory things, and they used things like curse words and talking about various types of races in a joking manner. And I answered them from my place of truth. So I didn't get the job the first time, but my skills and I want you guys to hear this. But they called me just a few months later and offered me that same position, but working with a different group. And what that HR representative said to me is that your assessment showed that you would not have been comfortable with the group that you had originally applied to work with. It was a lot of sales resources that I would have been supporting. And she explained, she said, we know that that sales team is a little rough. She said, but your skills, your writing skills came in so strong, we wanted to find a place for you here. I was living and working in St. Louis, Missouri at that time when that happened. So they brought me on, and I became their creative director for the Southeast region, which was really fit right in with me. I'm from the South. I understood the people here in the South. I had their major client, which was AT&T, and I was just delighted. It was a really great career move for me. But it was really important that the HR department and the people there understood how to really onboard a person that would fit in with the current work group. So be yourself. That's my advice. And let people know when you're uncomfortable with something. Fourth question is, I hear you speak on meditating a lot. I was raised to believe that meditating was not for Christians. What is your take on that? Well, of course, I believe in meditating, and because you say you've heard me speak on it, and I do meditate. I typically will do it every single day, and so do you. You're doing it whether you realize it or not, because meditating is what? In its simplest of form, it is thinking over time about a particular thing. It is focusing your thought on something, and it is definitely scriptural. There are several scriptures in the Bible that speaks to meditating. The word says to meditate on my word day and night, meaning that study the word, think about the word of God, consider the word of God. That's meditating. It's taking that time to be still and to focus on a particular thought is the meditating. I believe what this question doesn't address is that I grew up, in a Baptist church in Greenville, Georgia. And yes, in that environment, I was told that, you shouldn't meditate, but they were referring to like meditation where you're chanting. Perhaps there's some other type of organizations or religion where people will meditate and they will chant. And I don't do that. I don't chant to anything or anybody. I praise and worship, God. And so I think that's what you may be referring to, but I think it's time for us to be liberated in the Christian community and understand that the word of meditating and meditation is not ungodly. I frequently think of this verse in the Old Testament where it says that I hope the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart are acceptable in your sight. That's how I know we're all meditating every day. So girl, go ahead and you do your meditation. Just make sure your meditation is done up, to the Lord. This next question is, my church keep asking me to do work as a volunteer because I am good at it, and I am tired of doing it for free. How do I ask to get paid for what I'm doing? Whew, now I think that's a big one. So without knowing all the details around this, I think the first thought, that comes to my mind is something that I say frequently as well, and that is never give more than you can give. And in essence, what I'm saying, if you're volunteering to do some things, but your heart is not in it, you're going to build up resentment over time. And therefore, you're just going through the motion. You're hurting yourself more than anything. Because, and I'm sure when a person gets to a place like that, those that are around them, they sense it. They see it perhaps in the body language and the behavior that the person's heart is really not there. So are you really serving just because you're showing up? No, you're not. We are taught through the Word of God that whatever we do, when we're giving or we're even getting paid for it, we should do it from the heart. So woman of God, if you are volunteering and it's not in your heart to do it, and whether it's free or you're getting paid, you really want to step back and re-examine it. The other thing I want you to consider in this is boundaries. So maybe you're okay with volunteering, but they're asking you to do a lot more than what you originally had agreed to, as you say here, because you're good at it. You have to teach other people how to treat you. And the only person that can set boundaries for you is you. Be comfortable with letting people know that, no, I can't take on that extra duty or that extra task. What I know for certain, when you're not able to help someone, if you can, offer a recommendation to them and let them know, I can't do it, but perhaps you can consider XYZ or guide them down another path for support, they'll still be just as happy, right? So understand that it's up to you to set your own limits, which are boundaries is what I'm referring to, on what you can and you cannot do. And make sure that whenever you're volunteering or working, that you're doing it from your heart. And that's where the blessings will come from. Okay, guys, I believe that may be all the time we have for questions today. I am so thankful for your questions. I hope these answers help you a little bit. I am very faithful about making sure that I reach back out to those of you who send in questions and send you an answer back. So it's not just what we do here on the broadcast, because there's never enough time within this short broadcast to really go deep to answer your questions. And as I said earlier, there's always some underlying information that is needed to really give you a solid answer. So these answers are somewhat surface, but I do hope that they are able to provide some level of value to you as well. Well, guys, you know who I am. I am your girl, Yvette Gavin. And I am excited to be here with you today. And don't forget, if you have a question that you want me to answer, you can send it to us by going to our website at faithatwork.tv and submit your questions. You can also send us a voicemail message and leave a voicemail message on our phone. You see the number there on the screen. I'm looking forward to being back here with you next Monday on Faith at Work with Yvette Gavin. Until then, be blessed. Executive presence has nothing to do with skill and talent. Executive presence is a measure of image. Hello, everyone. I'm Yvette Gavin, host of Faith at Work, a television show focused on helping women of faith to increase their kingdom influence in the marketplace. Tune in Mondays at 5:30 a.m.
The perfect way to start your day. Family, traffic, meetings, traffic, family, all can be stressors in our everyday lives, but spending a few minutes with God can prepare you to take on the world. The Faith at Work devotional is a perfect vehicle to do just that by helping you center on what's most important, your relationship with God. And now, for your donation of any amount, you'll receive a copy of the Faith at Work devotional. Just visit our website at www.faithatwork.tv.